Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another author deep dive. And today we're doing a dark romance deep dive and we are diving into Mariano. Yep, we're going to talk about it. One of the books that I feel like I'm most well known for and that besides Outlander, one of the books that people comment to me about the most, that like, oh my god, I tried this book because you gushed about it and I loved it, is this one right here. It's Carter Mahoney and his luscious, terrifying self. And after I read Untouchable, I went on a deep dive of Mariano. And then last summer, I finished off most of her books. So I have read of the books that are just by her. I've read all of them except for one. And then there are a couple that she wrote with other authors that I haven't got to yet. I plan to, I just haven't, because a couple of them are like holiday themed and I don't always read holiday books. But also I'm wearing my Mafia Romance Readathon sweatshirt. The Mafia Romance Readathon starts on May 5th and some of the books we're going to talk about in here will work for the readathon, but thought I would show off some of my merch, which you can find down below. So the way that I like to do these deep dives, which it's been a while since I've done one, they are a lot of work and I know people request them all the time because they're really great videos for people looking to get into the author or for the authors themselves. It's a nice thing to see when a creator talks about all of your books for people, but they're a lot of work because when I do deep dives, as I've said in the past, hold on, I like to have read about 80% of the author's works when I do these so that I have a good idea of their scope and I kind of know their writing style very well. And so some of the authors people recommend to me or want it for, I'm like, yeah, but I've only read like 3 of their books and they have 50 of them, you know? And that makes it difficult because of the way that I mood read. I don't always want to just binge one author's works. It's tough for me. So anyway, those are my excuses. Those are my reasons. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through her series in the order that her series were started, we'll say, because some of her series we'll talk about had very big gaps between the books coming out, but we're going to go through the series in the order of when the series were started, and then we will go through her standalones in the order that her standalones came out, okay? And any of the standalones, I will try to remember to tell you like which series they can connect with because some of them connect with other books. So the first duet or series we're going to talk about, and I also have my notes here because in Sam's Facebook group, she has this post where she like says a little blurb about every series, and because it's been a while since I've read these, I'm going to read in her own words what the books are about, and then I'll tell you like what I rated them and how I felt about them. So we want to start with the Because of You duet, okay? And this duet is an enemies to lovers new adult. Nicole and Derek, they have a really like weird history because her mom and his dad used to be involved when they were younger. So then he ended up with Derek's mom, and then what happens is Nikki's mom killed Derek's mom in a murder-suicide. And so years later, Derek and Nikki cross paths in high school, and Derek, who isn't a super good boy, like we're going to discover about Sam very quickly with all of these, decides to strike out and get some revenge. But what he ends up doing instead is getting tangled up in a star-crossed love of his own with the daughter of the woman who murdered his mom. So again, this is a duet, and this duet does something that I don't love, okay? So Because of You takes place when they're in high school, and After You takes place years later, where now our hero is a single dad and Nikki they come back into each other's lives. So this was very interesting. Also, this series had like the biggest jump of all of them. Because of You came out in 2013 and After You didn't come out until 2018. So that must have been really fun for people to wait for. So I gave these books, I gave the first one like a 3-star because it doesn't end with an HEA really. But the second one I did enjoy a bit more. So I gave these like a 3 and a 4 star for this duet. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't the best I'd read. Then there is the Irreparable Damage duet, the Irreparable duet. And these books are, like, I'm going to say this a lot, these books are bananas, and I couldn't look away. These books, oopsie. Something that I don't love in books is cheating, and this duet has cheating as a major trigger. Obviously, some other triggers are going to be when I explain to you what this story is, you'll understand. So, the Irreparable Damage and Irreparable Lives is an unconventional romance that checks some taboo boxes. This is what Sam says. After a traumatic shared experience, which the shared experience is that private investigator Ethan Wilde has to, under duress, rape our heroine. She has been kidnapped. She's going to be sold into sex slavery. She's been kidnapped because she is the daughter of a mafia boss, but like she's a bastard daughter of that mafia boss, and he's not really in her life, but these enemies know who she is, and they kidnap her, and they're going to sell her into sex slavery. He has already infiltrated this human trafficking ring to rescue a different girl, and he wants to try to save Willow too, but to do that, he has to rape her. So this man of good, this man who's trying to do a good thing, has to assault this woman, otherwise they will both be killed. So that's the traumatic experience we're talking about. So then Willow and him begin this complicated relationship where Ethan is trying to help Willow process the painful experiences that happen, and Willow does her best to shrug it off and move along. And she is very wise in understanding that he is traumatized as well. So this man who did the act to her was doing it under duress, and he's a guy, like, he has kids, he has a wife, and he feels completely irreparably changed by the fact that to save their lives he was forced to do this, and he questions a lot if he shouldn't have died rather than do this, you know. So Ethan has a whole life that she doesn't fit into, and when the feelings arise, things get really complicated. So he really wants to be there for her, but in doing so, their emotions really start to get entangled through this. And I tell ya, I don't, like reading cheating in books. You're not supposed to like it. But this was a case of, in a duet, that I understood why it came about. And even though it was so painful to read, I wasn't angry or like horrified with them for doing that, if that makes sense, because of the situation they're in. It is bonkers. So I gave these both 4 stars, I believe. So this duet connects with the Morelli family, which we're about to talk about next. So I just want to say that Willow is the daughter of someone that we know. And if you want to read this duet, you want to read it before you read book 3 in the Morelli family, which shouldn't be a problem. Like, if you read this duet first. If you read this duet first, you won't be spoiled for the Morelli family either. So there you go. So then we get into the Morelli family. All right, we get into the Morelli family, which I actually have some of these ones. So I have Accidental Witness, and we'll talk about this one first. Accidental Witness starts out about Mia Mitchell, and she witnesses something she shouldn't have seen, hence Accidental Witness. And Vince Morelli goes to her high school, and he's the one who catches her seeing the thing she shouldn't see. And he threatens her, and then kind of becomes her stalker to make sure she doesn't tell anyone, and then they kind of begin a relationship. Well, the thing is, his family, specifically his uncle, Mateo, finds out about this relationship and decides that Mia can never get out of the family for what she has seen. So this begins this crazy series, and Sam doesn't give you much, like, about this post. This is what she says about it. She says, Mia embarks on a journey she never asked for into the dark and twisted world of the Morelli crime family of Chicago. This dark series will take you on a wild, sexy journey you will not see coming. Just buckle up and enjoy the ride, and whatever you do, do not skip books because you will get lost. Mateo's story is advanced in every single book, even the ones that appear from the cover to be about separate couples. This is not a separate couple standalone series. It is a continuing story, so each book carries to the end. And this is absolutely true. Though the first 4 books of the series, which we will talk about the different couples in just a second, they are about different couples in each book. You still got to read them in order because Mia and Vince and Mateo and the dynamics of this family continue through each book. And if you just like skipped some because you think you're not interested in that couple, you will be sorry. This is a journey. This is a series that you need, like, I'm not going to make you go in blind because, like I said, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it just because this is my channel and I want to convince you to read it. But it's an adventure. Like, you are committing to this whole family. So, yes. So the next book is Surviving Mateo. And this is about a relationship between Meg, who is recently, like, widowed by Mateo because her husband has fucked up and she's a widow, and she gets asked by a rival family to try to kill Mateo. And she has a young child, and so she's gonna go ahead and try and do this. And he catches her, and he takes her as prisoner and makes her a maid in his compound. And then this is their romance between the two of them and what's happening between them. Then there is Once Burned, and this is the story of Adrian and Elise. And so Elise has been raised as like a servant in the Morelli household. Her and her mother, I think it's her mother, have worked there. And Adrian, who is a made man under Mateo and his like main like bodyguard, he has fallen for Elise. And Adrian makes a deal with Mateo where Adrian had almost paid off his like servitude to Mateo because he like owed him a certain amount of years of service, and he basically like gives up his freedom so that he can free Elise from working for Mateo, and he gives her like a home and a place that is separate from the Morellis. But now he himself can't be free from the Morellis because he's sold himself kind of back into that. So that's what's going on. So this one's like an age gap. There's a bodyguard. There's kind of like, she's like, do I owe you myself now because you paid for me? And he's like, no, I just want you to be free. But like, if you love me, I'm not going to be mad about it, you know. Then there is Family Ties, and this one is about Francesca and Salvatore, and Francesca is Mateo's sister, and Salvatore is a rival. So this one is a forbidden romance, and it's pretty awesome. And then we get into the last 3 books in this series, all right? We have Resisting Mateo, we have Coming Home, and we have Last Words, okay? And I'm going to talk about all 3 of these together. So these 3 books come back to the complicated relationship between Meg, Mateo, Mia, and Vince. Things are not as simple as they seem, and there is a lot of twisted situations between them. There's some situations that might seem like cheating. There's some possible polyamorous situations that might show up. There is anger and betrayal that happens. There is tests. Mateo likes to test the people in his life to make sure that they are loyal. And if he hasn't tested you, he doesn't trust you. If you haven't passed one of his tests, you aren't safe. He will do whatever fucked up things he needs to do. It's a twisty ride. And all 3 of these books are like one unending mind fuck. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Who will end up with whom by the end? We don't know. These books take place over years. It's amazing. I loved it. It's not going to be for everybody. You're going to want to throw your books across the room. You're going to be so pissed off, but I loved them. I've reread these books. I mean, it's been a while, but I used to just on a constant loop, I was rereading parts of these books because I was so obsessed with them. All right. Then real quickly, we have the Vegas Morellis. Oh, no, wait, I skipped. Oh, I forgot. There's also Entrapment, which is book 7.5. And this is Mateo's point of view for a few key parts that happen throughout the series. So it starts back with Accidental Witness, and then there are a few different things like peppered throughout that we get from his POV. You do get Mateo's POV in some of the other books, but it's very sparingly because he's got some tricky things in his mind. And then there's Old Flame, which is about Dante and Colette, and this is a case of, I think Dante is like a cousin to Mateo. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he wants a certain woman, and he's going to have her. So there you go. There's that one. That one doesn't have the POVs of some other people. Okay, now there's the Vegas Morellis. So we meet Rafe Morelli, who is, I believe, a cousin to Mateo, and he has his operation happening in Vegas. The other Morellis are in Chicago. We meet Rafe in one of the previous books, and now we get his story. And his situation is he meets Laurel and has this like fling with her, and then there is Sin, who is one of his made men, and this is a interesting love triangle between the three of them. And this one is a love triangle. Laurel only ends up with one of them, and then Submitting in Vegas is about whichever person doesn't get picked by Laurel in that, they get their book in Submitting in Vegas, which was very dom sub, very sexy, a little bit of captor captive in that one even too, and it's a good time. So yeah, those are all of the like series of hers and kind of how they connect, a lot of it having to do with the Morellis. So now we're going to talk about some of her standalones, which is fun. So we will go in the order that the standalones came out. So there is Beautiful Mistakes, and this one is one that I haven't read. So let me see if she... Okay, so she doesn't have this one like listed here. So I don't know fully what this one is about. So Beautiful Mistake was written in 2014, and it's about Julie and Aaron, and the blurb for this one was super vague, so I don't know what this one is about. It's hard to say. I don't. It was one of her earliest books, though. Then there's The Last Boss's Daughter, and this is a Snow White retelling, and this is about Annabelle and Hunt. And The Last Boss's Daughter, this one is about an unrepentant assassin, and he's called in as part of a team to take down a New York crime family. Since the murder of her father, Annabelle wants nothing to do with anything to do with the crime family. The family still keeps her close, though, so through no fault of her own, Annabelle is caught between Liam Hunt's crosshairs and assigned with keeping an eye on her when she inadvertently stumbles across their operations home base. Liam finds himself torn. He's supposed to kill Annabelle, but the more he watches her, the more he wants her for himself instead. And this is a Snow White retelling. I read this one during the Mafia Romance Readathon last year, and it was pretty good. It was fun. Then there is Stitches, which is a MFM. Where is it at? So this one was interesting. So this one is about Sebastian, Moira, and Griff. And it's not an erotica, but it's still a pretty sexy romance. So this is a story between these two friends. So it is Sebastian and Moira are married. And then Griff catches his wife cheating, and he's very sad about it. And so his best friend Sebastian and Moira, his wife, decide to share Moira with Griff. Like, Sebastian is willing to share his wife, and Moira, she's really into this. It's good. And they become this triad together. And it was very interesting. Like, I read this when I first started reading Sam, and I was like, this was pretty cool. Because I don't love MFM. You know that. I like it to be MMF. But I loved this because Moira and Sebastian inviting Griff into their marriage was this very, like, thing of caring. Like, it was, we love him and we don't want him to be alone during this time. And so they invite him into their family. And of course, sexy time is involved too. And I really enjoyed it. I really, really did love this one. Then we have Untouchable, which came out in 2018. What is there to say that I haven't said? But in case you haven't seen it, this one is a high school bully romance, but it really is a dark romance. The bullying may be how it starts, but this is more of a psychological dark romance. We have Zoe Ellis, who she is a pariah in her small town in Texas because she snitched when a football player, Jake, assaulted her. And now he can't play in the ending games of the season. And so he is pretty pissed at her. And so Zoe gets trapped in a classroom with Jake, one of their other friends, and Carter. And Carter decides to punish her for what she's done to Jake's football career. And she gets brutally face fucked by Carter in this room. We'll just say what we said. We said it. And he said, no one's going to believe you. You came into this room with us. Plus, if you do anything, your world is like over. So she's like forced to stay quiet about it. And now Carter becomes obsessed with her and he wants to play with her. And this story is about how Zoe is trying to figure this man out and decide if she likes what he's doing with her or if she needs to really end it and never be around him again. But also the fact of them being in high school is really a device too, because Zoe can't get away from him. She can't just pack up and move. She's stuck here in this town. And if she's not willing to like play by Carter's rules and do what he wants of her, her life is like over. It's very painful. But this is one of my favorite books of all time. But it is like, I've definitely read many darker things since this book at this point. But this is a book that lives in my head rent-free forever. I think about it constantly. I would reread it all the time. Like, it's fantastically done. I think it's funny to me that she didn't even list Untouchable as one of her, like, what people find her for, which is hilarious to me. Maybe it wasn't fully out yet when she made this list. That could be it. Maybe it wasn't out yet. All right, then there is The Imperfections, and this one is about Brantley and Alyssa, and Alyssa was the nanny for Brantley's nieces, and like for his sister, and she has been like fucked by his brother-in-law, and she is pregnant, and she wants to keep the baby, and the brother-in-law goes to Brantley and asks him to kill Alyssa so that she won't ruin his marriage. So because he is a man of shady character and because he doesn't want his sister's life to be ruined, he agrees to go kill this 17-year-old girl. And instead of killing her, he fucks her and takes her home with him instead. So this one definitely has coercive sex at the beginning as well. But Alyssa is also very smart, and she's willing to offer herself and be whatever he wants so that he won't kill her. And then he ends up falling kind of head over heels in love for her. So take that, taboo romance, for what you will. Then there's Mistletoe Kisses. She wrote this one with Isabella Sterling. This one is apparently a student-teacher spicy romance between Noelle and Cal. I haven't read this one. I also haven't read How the Hitman Stole Christmas, and this one is about Autumn and Jasper. And I haven't read this one yet either. Then there is The Boy on the Bridge, and this is about Hunter and Riley. This one slightly connects with Untouchable, not as much as I wanted it to, but this one is kind of a second chance romance. They really liked each other in like 9th and 10th grade or something, and then she talks to her mom about some abuses that she knows are happening in Hunter's home, and her mom, you know, gets authorities involved, and Hunter has to go live with his father in like Italy or something, and he hates that she got him removed from his home, and so he comes back as an 18-year-old when he's a senior, and now he wants to like ruin her life for what she did. So this one's a bully romance. I didn't love this one by any means as much as Untouchable, but I know a lot of people it works for them. The hero has a very good grovel in this one. It's good. Then there is Descent. This one is part of the Black Heart romance. Like, I don't know if it's an imprint or if it's a book box or what it's supposed to be. But this one, as I have fondly said, is if Carter wasn't in high school when Zoe met him. Because Zoe, she really tames Carter throughout that book. Like, it is not a redemption arc. He doesn't get redeemed. But she definitely, like, curbs his darker impulses and focuses all of his attention on herself, okay? So we have Calvin Cutter, and he is another level of insane, and he's in his like 30s, and he's an all-powerful businessman, and he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And what he wants is his employee's ex-girlfriend, Hallie. And so Calvin tricks her by using her ex-boyfriend into getting her to this club, which is called, I think it's called like Heaven and Hell, or it's called the like Paradise Club or whatever, where it is like a BDSM and like CNC club. And so no one believes that she's being assaulted there. And he wants her because he wanted to live out a rape fantasy and rape a woman for real. That's what he wants. Because he's done rape fantasy before where it was CNC, the girl wanted it. And he's like, I want to actually do it. So I'm going to rape you. And he does. He rapes her at that club. And then he stalks her and slowly takes over her life. And he has a lot more power than Carter does. Carter has the weight of his reputation and his family's money. This guy literally has connections with dark people, and he has unlimited money. And if her family or friends try to stop him from what he's doing, he will make sure that their lives are over too. And he has completely cut her off from everything. It's dark and twisted, and not everyone's gonna love it. I sickly was into this book. And then the last one that I want to talk about, which I just read, was Even If It Hurts. And this one is going to be a part of Filthy Elites, which comes out on the 28th. It was a full-length book. It was 400 pages. And this one is also a high school story. I haven't like written my review for this yet, so it's hard to put it into words. But this is about Dare, and he is a psychopath. And he's actually in a relationship with a girl at school who's a sociopath. And they are like the queen and king of the school. And our heroine in this, which I'm sorry, my brain just short-circuited about what her name is, but she like pisses this sociopath, this girl, this evil woman off in a dumb way that's like not even her fault. And this Anae is the name of this bitch. And so she decides to sick her boyfriend on this girl. And so she tells Dare that she wants him to make this girl fall in love with him, fuck her, take her virginity, and then break her heart. So it's almost like it's like a bet romance is how it's like getting set up. But there's way more going on in this story. I have been describing this. It felt like it was like a domestic thriller, but like it's technically a romance because this is an HEA. Like they're together at the end. This is also setting up her new series, which she said will be called The Coastal Elites. And Anae, this like evil bitch, and her sister Hannah, who are like kind of a retelling of Cinderella going on, they are going to be in this Coastal Elite series. So I'm very interested to see. And in her author's note, Sam says that this is all kind of like backstory for when we read those books. So yeah, I finished this book yesterday, and I gave it 4 stars. And it's like a 4.5 on the spice scale. Because I could not put the book down, okay? But also it was just, it didn't have, like, the heart that I wanted to have. Because I'll tell you, like, I know it sounds weird, but, like, there's actual was still, like, heart in this book. About things that were very sweet about it. And Dare is a psychopath that I don't even know. You know, so that's when we're like, again, there's an HEA at the end of that. But I don't know if it's an HEA because I feel really bad that heroine is with him at the end. So take that as the warning you will, and just know that that is the tip of the iceberg when you're reading Sam Mariano. So there you go. Those are all the books that are currently out that I have had a touch with. She has other novellas that are in anthologies and things like that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this. I hope if you love dark romance or psychological things that you will give her a try. Maybe try some of her mafia books for the readathon. And yeah, make sure to check out her books. And thank you so much for watching this. Have a great day. Bye.